Hello, Studio 108 Seekers and Sages. I am here today with my friend, colleague, fellow traveler along the path, Pamela Price. And I don't know, she's a dynamic individual in many ways. She's a gifted jewelry maker and artist. She is a fantastic yoga teacher and teacher trainer. She is a coach for the program This Naked Mind. And we're gonna have a little chit chat. I haven't seen her and probably since the 2020 shutdown, since before that. So it would be looking at 2 years, and that's just, that's why my eyes are so happy, my heart is so happy. I'm just like bubbling with joy. I can't even find words for how excited I am to see you. Yeah. So we have a lot to catch up on, and I think, we felt comfortable inviting people to kind of be a fly on the wall for our reconnection. And then we're going to talk a little bit about January and the opportunities in January. And one such opportunity that Pam knows a lot about, that I feel really strongly about, having lived some experiences that I'd like to share and bring forward for your consideration. So let's see. Okay, so when I met Pam, that's where we're gonna start.
Great. Oh,
when I met Pam, she was in a teacher training group with a lot of other people, and I was like, oh, I'm such a vata. I don't remember names. And so I said to this group of very lovely people from the bottom of my heart, I want to know, each of you is so fantastic, and I want to know each of your names, and I can't wait to get to know you. And I'm really bad at names, so just be patient. And Pamela said to me, you can call me Pamela, you can call me Pam, or you can call me PJ, so you have 3 names for me. And I was like, that doesn't help. Oh no! No, I don't know what to call you. But I remembered. Yeah. So, and she's remarkable in so many ways, but that really stuck. And the other thing that I want to bring out to you guys, in terms of your studio membership and your participation here, is that every time you walk in the front door and you look just straight ahead on the wall, and there's that beautiful wood placard with the carved mala that is our logo. Pamela made it.
I made that.
We went down to Amish country, and Pamela showed me what's the name of that place? Climbs Lumber.
Mm-hmm.
And you took us upstairs, she got us upstairs up the elevator. It's the coolest place, I know. And she took us upstairs, well, I know now because she took me there, it's like a museum. And there are all kinds of slats and big chunks of trunks that you might use for the base of a table.
Yeah. You could redo your whole house. I could, but yeah, it's lovely. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And just the energy that's there, right? From this beautiful, gorgeous natural surfaces of wood, all different kinds of exotics, and anyways, whole conversation. But yes, we picked the wood out there. You picked out the beast.
Well, I was just gonna say, it's I was in love with all of the wood and the stories they tell and the energies they emit and the source of where they came from and what all that's about. But you could see the potential of the art on it. And so you kind of narrowed it down and helped me. I really appreciate it.
That's sweet.
I felt like I was with my mama at the ice cream shop where there were too many flavors, and she said, well, do you like this or that? And it was very, very, very special day.
Well, you inspire me, so it was easy to say that we collaborate well. I get that.
Yeah, for sure. So it's up on the wall there, and if you haven't seen it, then when you walk up, lift your eyes, because it's special. It's really beautiful, and I'm so grateful to have it to bless the space here. It's the first time Pam visited here, so I was really happy to show her around.
Yeah, it's an incredible space.
Yeah.
You're so lucky.
All right, so what else? Let's talk about this idea that you have studied and have supported so many people on, because it was about the same time we kind of quit drinking around through the same era of time. Do you want to tell your story?
I'll be happy to.
Yeah.
I think the way that now I've got it kind of honed down, and I think everybody comes to alcohol, it's very similarly, but also very differently. And I think for me, the easiest way to say it is a lot happened. A lot happened, as I think many people feel that way about how they grew up, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And alcohol was it was very normal. It was a way of life. It was an example for me of something that I achieved or earned. It was there when we celebrated. It was there when we grieved. It was an essential component to basically everyday life, everyday living, like not just special occasion living, but like this is what we do. And so that was my example, and it was pretty much an integration with the way that I used it, and then found myself using it a little bit more than I had liked. And I felt like I struggled for, I'm gonna just throw it out there and say decades, to want to drink less often, or not at all. I was never a wake up in the morning drinker. First of all, I was never a day drinker either. Like I couldn't drink during the day because I just wanted to take a nap. But I definitely struggled with when I did drink. I often overdrank. It said things I regretted, or woke up in the middle of the night going, what did I do? That type of thing. And I looked to yoga for support in that. And there were chunks of time which it did. I felt like it definitely brought a mindfulness to my lifestyle. It brought an awareness to how I was treating my body, the things that I was saying to myself. But it always ended up leaning in to the bottle of wine a little bit more than I liked, especially when things got rough, or when I had fears or things that I didn't want to face. It seemed like it was easier to, which it is, it's easier to ignore it than it is to face it. And then there was a period of time where it just got too easy. The bottle was gone that much quicker than it used to be. And I was like, what the freaking A am I doing? And I didn't like who I'd become. I didn't like the person I was in the morning. And I felt completely functional. Again, like I didn't, I was not. Yeah.
And it's within a social norm.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's that unspoken social norm.
Yeah. And
I can remember a couple times, because I had quit off and on so many times in my life, which it was no big deal for me to drink or to not drink, except something would happen. My house flooded. We had, the very serious diagnosis for my stepdaughter. And I remember like distinctly in my mind saying, God just wants me to have a drink.
Yeah.
And like, it was so much a part of a normal menu of coping skills that it wasn't judged or frowned upon. And matter of fact, it was encouraged. I mean, my mother would say I had a terrible sunburn once as a child, like blisters all over me. And one of many times, not the sunburn, but this interaction with my mom. Here, Tracy, just have a couple sips of my wine. 10, 11, 12, 14 years old kind of thing. And it's like, that was the pattern that we lived in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Till it wasn't going to work. Man, I knew something had to change.
Yeah.
And it was scary at the time, because I really, at that time, there were very few places to find a space that allowed you to work on the thoughts and the sort of emotions, or the reasons why we drink, and understanding a little bit more about what it does to your body, right? It was just
well, and you use the term gray space, which I really appreciate, because through those years, until we've come to more awarenesses these days, but like through many years, it was like, if you weren't a sloppy drunk bum in the streets, if you could get up and go to work, you would in no way had an alcohol problem.
Right.
There was either, if you were either such a serious addict that you were, hurting people with your car, or you were just fine. Or it was just fine. Yeah. So there was no space for a conversation or a thought, or it was lonely.
Yeah, it was. Until I found this naked mind.
Yeah.
So Annie Grace is the creator, and she went through the process herself. She got extremely curious and wanted a different way to approach reevaluating her relationship with alcohol. So basically looking at it and having it have zero charge and having it be small and irrelevant.
Mhm.
So in that sense of that, you don't have to be, hit rock bottom type of scenario. And it was when I discovered her approach where like all the light bulbs started going off. It was
Right.
like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And because the struggle is real, because it's an addictive substance,
Yeah.
And so we have a tendency to overdrink because of what it does to our bodies, right? And the science behind it and learning the science behind it is a huge support system to a very compassionate based change instead of willpower, which is really, for me, the difference between understanding sort of like where you fall, like just like you mentioned, within that sort of gray area.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
I think there are so many, I mean, it's such a rich conversation, even like to this point, because I know Pam's got a couple points that we want to touch on specific to the topic. So I'm just getting, distracted just a little bit.
It's okay.
But like one thing that comes to mind, of course, is the social climate, like and how much marketing is done to keep drinking in the pictures of alcohol use embedded in our culture.
Right.
It's like there's no, I don't know, it's just an assumed, right? And it's on every TV show, it's in every commercial, it's in every sporting event. It's like life in our society kind of circles around and even when you go to restaurants, you're given the drink menu and if you don't want coffee or water, that's your menu. So
It's where
it's a lot.
It's a lot. And it's interesting that you bring that up because and understanding this, so from a compassionate point of view, which I love this, is understanding it. So we're wired for connection, right? And so that's one of our basic instincts in our DNA. It's survival instincts, is because if we're alone on a desert island, that's it, sorry, you're not gonna make it.
Right.
And so our body needs to feel connection. And so absolutely, the way that alcohol is marketed, the alcohol marketing companies know that they're triggering that desire for
just
connection.
like Starbucks, just like Target, like they're masters at
Absolutely.
manipulating the psyche. And there's all kinds of like in Kundalini yoga, there's a lot of conversation about not getting hijacked, about having clarity and focus and being able to tune yourself into the channel and thought stream and to be able to work with your subconscious so that you are very intentional and purposeful in how you align yourself. So it's just yet another example of a channel or a frequency that wants to pull us in, that we have to be strong enough to resist if we'd like. And when you resist it, it's not like you're saying no to it. When you resist it, you have choice about it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about, right? Reclaiming your choice, being strong enough to hold your matrix in a place of your own sovereignty.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think that understanding that there is a fitting in culture, this is the culture that we live in. And so having that perspective that this is the space that I live in, so then how
am I going to function in that
exactly.
space? Which is one of the funniest things is that people still give me wine for my birthday, bottles of wine. And I mean, I haven't in total seriously not drinking, like maybe 5 or 6 years, but like clearly not a sip in a good 4 years.
Yeah.
So they're still giving me a gift of a bottle of wine. Nobody has noticed.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I don't know what to think about that, except that's okay because it's none of their business.
Right.
It's my business.
Right.
I'm happier, I'm healthier.
Yeah.
I don't need to be more aware. I mean, I don't need for them to be more aware.
Right.
I'm very aware. And it's fine. And my husband still drinks wine, so he's pretty pleased when I get a gift that he can enjoy.
Yeah, sure.
But like that social connection was really, really hard for me. That was my inner work.
Yeah.
Is to like think about what that was about for me and to dig into what that was about. And then as I've lived the experience and I realized no one even pays attention.
Right.
If that supports
because they're only worried about what's in their glass anyways.
No.
And that's usually it. But it's an interesting way to get into, you know, sort of understanding why we think we like to drink anyways, you know, which
Exactly.
is one of those, you know, like,
Tell us the
oh,
science of that. Why do we like to drink?
sure. Well, I mean, there's the mental, so the emotional connection to it, you know, the beliefs and the thoughts that we have around alcohol. One of the first things that I do and that we do through this Naked Mind with the coaching process is from a very compassionate led approach is to have people create 2 lists. Like basically one is, you know, all the reasons why they think they like to drink, right? And then all the reasons why, I forget what is this, it just lost me. All the fears you have about not drinking, that's the big, so all the things, all the reasons why you think you like to drink and all the fears you have about not drinking. And so often that second list of what comes up is, I won't fit in.
Mhm.
People will think I'm an alcoholic,
Mhm.
you know, and I'll be labeled, you know, or there's something wrong with me and I don't have enough willpower.
Mhm.
And all the reasons we like to drink is what we talked about, all the reasons why you and I, or how I started, or what I learned about drinking was to be connected. This is how we celebrate. This is what I knew. And so,
Yeah, and some of it, like wine tastes good. It's sugary.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, and discerning the different flavors and the different colors and the different regions, that's an interesting mental task. Like there's a little bit of a hook right there available for you mentally. So that there's a lot that goes on underneath the whole conversation.
Yeah, I agree and I disagree with that.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking about that might be on
Yeah.
someone's list.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It wasn't necessarily on my list, but it was on, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
that might be
well,
on someone's
and
list.
I think, so we look at the reasons why we like to drink and then we think about the things that we're afraid of about it. But so I think what's helpful when if anybody's considering or they're feeling like, you know, it is that third glass is coming a little more easily than I would like, or maybe it's the whole bottle, I don't know, or you know, you just want to take a break for to check out just to see how you feel. I mean, I always would recommend that to anybody, but if the whole idea with this approach that I'm so excited to talk about a little bit is it's the same way we talk about any change, basically, right? It's that approaching it from a sense of understanding, of curiosity and compassion. Because anything that we force through willpower isn't going to work. Like if I tell myself I have to come to yoga every single day, or I'm not going to be a good person, you know, how long is that going to last?
Mhm.
It's not sustainable. So any big change that we want to make in our lives, especially when it comes and is connected to such huge connections like our social standing or our connection to other human beings, it's going to take a little work.
It is, and I mean, we have to figure that our life exists in a certain energetic pattern.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where or how you want to change that pattern. Changing that pattern is going to take some energetic effort.
Yeah.
And at first it feels really awkward and wrong and uncomfortable and tense.
Yeah.
But over time and gradually and compassionately and through your own sovereign choice, rather than willpower, like free choice, relaxed, easy choice.
Right.
Like you can do it. But I remember the first times going out with friends, couples groups, and everybody would order a drink and my body would get like tighter and tighter until it's my turn. And then I would say, sparkling water, please. And my body would hold really, 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 really tight. And nobody cared, everybody's bubbling along, having a good time. But my energy was holding such a different print that I could feel the tension and the intensity and the stress and the awkwardness of that different choice in that same situation. Like I was changing a pattern that had been there for how many decades, years, right? And there's going to be sensation with that,
For sure.
and so, yeah. What else do you have, Pam?
I have a lot. I just think it's important to sit with that because I think there's so much truth to that, to the thoughts and beliefs that we have over. It's a liquid in a glass.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And we make it mean so much.
It's the same, like you might have done this exercise with like an ex-boyfriend. Why do they mean so much? until all of a sudden they're like, this pen, they mean nothing.
Right.
Like, why does this glass of liquid mean so much until somehow it can, in fact, become like the pen?
Yeah.
And it means nothing.
It has zero charge.
Yeah.
And part of it is understanding the science behind it. And that's, for me, that was a huge aha, wake up like, what? I know it, how come no one ever told me that? And I think that's always been the shift for me for all my big changes in life, especially even like going to therapy. Like when someone explains to me that the roles of a family and da 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 da, and I'm like, oh, that's why I act that way. Thank you. And it's not so much. There's something about the beauty and compassion that comes with letting ourselves off the hook by understanding the why.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with us.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the beauty of understanding the science, which is huge. So that first 20 minutes, basically, everybody feels that. That's that.
The first 20 minutes of taking a sip.
Yeah, the first 20 minutes of your first drink, that's where that little happy, you get giddy, the tension feels like it's rolling off your shoulders. You know, that's the whole reason why you were so excited to have this at the end of the day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so for that 20, maybe 30 minutes for some people, just depending on your weight and how much you're consuming in that space, and how your body processes it, not just the alcohol, but also the sugar. That's 20 to 30 minutes is all you're getting from one drink. And so the initial is the dopamine hit, which is what that happy feeling is. And then the most amazing thing is, if you think about it, the easiest way to say it is that our bodies are always trying to protect us, right? And we don't want to have a whole conversation about the nervous system here, but essentially, if we're putting something into our body that is numbing us, our body's like, what are you doing? I can't protect you if you're numb. And so it says, well, you've just put something in your body that's numb. I'm going to produce something that's going to make you anti-numb. And so as soon as your body recognizes that alcohol is in the system, it produces adrenaline and cortisol. It also produces a chemical called dynorphin, which is also, all of those are all to counteract the effects of alcohol. And so, like, you went into the evening stressed, or went into this idea that I'm going to have this drink that I know I'm stressed out, or I need to chill out, or I need to, whatever it is that you're telling yourself about it. And you get that relaxation and you got it, but then on the other side of it, the alcohol begins to wear off, but now your body is left with the adrenaline and the cortisol and the dynorphin.
Which are the chemicals of stress.
Right.
Which is your adrenal glands, starting the cascade of stress and strain and exhaustion.
Right.
And then roll that into your adrenal glands, into your immune system, your digestive system. So it continues to unravel.
Yeah, and then it continues to build. That's the thing. So you were at some level here without cortisol and adrenaline in your system, and you were already kind of hyped up, stressed out.
Right.
The alcohol numbed you to that space that you thought that you're not at that stress level, and actually now you've just increased your stress.
Right.
Because you now have added cortisol, added adrenaline, and added dynorphin in your system. And so, but the brain says, wait, I got relaxed and the alcohol starts to wear off. And so the brain says, have another. And you might even hear it. You might have done with the first one, or the first one went down so quickly, you're just like, whoa, what just happened? And the second one, then you actually need more alcohol the second time around to get to the same effect that the first drink gave you. And then you added more cortisol, more adrenaline, more dynorphin, and again, and again, and again. And you keep going to a certain point to where then the alcohol just kind of overrides your system, and that's when you fall in bed or fall asleep on the couch watching a movie or whatever, you just pass out. But the adrenaline and cortisol doesn't go away. The alcohol actually wears off sooner. And that's why when you wake up in the morning, you feel worse. And it's like, they call it anxiety, as it's not actually, a lot of people, like the misnomer is that, yes, you're dehydrated, and yes, there's but what you're feeling are the after effects of the cortisol, the adrenaline, the dynorphin leaving your system, which actually takes longer than the alcohol itself. So yeah, we think we're going into it to relieve our stress, and we actually make ourselves worse.
Yeah.
So that's a big science piece behind it. So
That's a big science piece, but it's a really difficult experience to wrap your head around. It's like you need a little space from it to be able to look back and see the pattern of it.
Yeah.
It's like when you're in the river,
Yeah.
you can't see it.
Exactly.
You gotta somehow like claw yourself out on the shore
Yeah.
to see that.
Or the way I approach it with my coaching clients and when I'm coaching for This Naked Mind is through the lens of compassion and curiosity. So like, I really want to drink when I get home tonight. What do I think that drink is going to do for me? And it's going to relax me. I had a really shitty day, blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, you get in the car and you're driving home, and then you start to evaluate and really pay attention to why you're feeling. Like, when does that relief come? That I'm going to have that first glass of wine, or
Like
that
the
first cocktail.
anticipation can
Like,
create
like,
relief.
all of a sudden, like, you're just like, oh, I had that drink, and all of a sudden you feel relaxed. And then, so you get home, and, you know, or maybe it's when you open the door, or maybe it's when you open to where you hold, or the wine cooler, or whatever, you know, notice, like, begin to become like super investigator and really pay attention. And then take a sip and decide, you know, is it really taste number one as good as you think it's going to taste? And then pay attention through the whole first glass. Like, when do you start to feel that calming effect? Now you're understanding the science. And then when do you start to crave the second glass? You know, what are the thoughts in your head? When
And
does
then
that
let's
happen?
loop back, because you're asking
Sure.
really good questions, but I'm thinking we better like loop back in and weave the reminder that it's a practice.
Right.
And it's a
correct.
practice that started with curiosity and compassion.
Yes.
So sometimes, like, you don't become a master yogi in the first class.
That's right.
You have, but if you are not a master yogi in the first class and you never go back, you'll never be a master yogi.
Correct.
So it's like a practice that at first you might just get as far to say as, I can't wait for that glass of wine. Oh, look, I'm anticipating my glass of wine.
Yeah.
And that can be the practice.
Correct.
And then the next day,
Exactly.
2 weeks later, whatever,
Right.
like whenever, like it's just such a process.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like the act of that process had so many like channels. I don't want to call them distractions because it was really productive work, but channels of investigation.
Yes.
So I might have started with, why do I want that wine? And then the flashback of some history behind that would take me off into a processing. Like, I gotta go sit down and cry. Now I need 2 glasses of wine.
Yeah.
And like, okay, whatever, but I noticed something, right?
So everything happens on the other side of awareness. That's the most beautiful thing about this process too.
Yeah.
Right. And so the more you're aware, and the more that you accept what it is that you're feeling as well, because I mean, that's why I was drinking, because I didn't want to feel what I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's why most people kind of go there anyways. It's because they don't want to feel, or they feel like they need it because, you know, they have social anxiety or those other things. But yes,
And there's a little
becoming-
bit of that idea of self-medication that can bring you to compassion too. It's
For
like, okay, I'm using a substance to self-medicate that might be harming my health. Let me pull back and assess other tools, like all of it.
Yeah.
So you started with a little bit of science, but I know you have more because you gave me some data about it in 1980 something.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was just like, ugh.
I know, crazy, right?
What a
Well, so a little
crazy.
bit. So one of the big things that happened, right? It was pre-COVID, but I can't remember if it was 20 or 21. No, it was 2019. It was 2020 that alcohol has been linked to cancer for over 30 years.
Okay, let's say that again.
Alcohol has been linked to cancer for over 30 years. Since 1988, it was labeled as a carcinogen. And there's no labels on any wine bottle at all.
There's no conversation about that.
No.
Because like many topics, it just wasn't spoken of.
Right. And so
we're blessed to be in this time.
correct that of the awareness. So within the last few years, the American Cancer Society has actually changed are recommended. So it used to be that misnomer of, like 1 glass of wine a day is okay, and oh, it's really good for your heart, and blah, blah, blah. I mean,
None of that science holds out.
no, it doesn't. And actually, and now the American Cancer Society said if cancer is an issue, if cancer is on the table for you, their recommended dose is 0. So 0 alcohol from the American Cancer Society. And that's huge.
That's huge. That's a really powerful statement. I don't know that it's necessarily mainstream knowledge,
It's not.
but we're saying it here today.
Right.
And we do live in a really exciting time of increased awareness and increased personal choice and individual responsibility. So you know how strongly I feel about just bringing forward voices who are shedding light and offering alternative ideas to what we've been patterned and programmed with.
Yeah.
So Pam's gonna go on because she's got more and I feel really
No.
strongly.
I just wanted to make sure. No, I was just
Yeah, I
checking
feel like
make sure where we're
that's-
at. I come with notes because Brenny Brown gives me permission, because she comes to every meeting with notes, and so I feel like
Hold up your note, Pam.
I can
Her
show.
notes are 11 by 16, like she's got the biggest, and it's all written in calligraphy, it's beautiful. It's like, here's my note, it's a post-it note, okay? So I'm gonna call Brené, because she and I are friends too, and I'm gonna ask how big are your notes, Brené. But anyway, Pam brings the most beautiful notes, I'm so happy. So definitely check and see, because I know there are more facts like this, and you're a beautiful, this is a beautiful opportunity, and you're just a person to kind of shed light for people.
We've kind of covered a lot of it, but I think one of the other parts that I think is really important to understand, and it's kind of, again, it's like one of those things where you understand the concept, but until you're in the experience and really evaluating what it does for you or what you think it does for you, and is it really doing that? And that's really where the meat of the experience of and creating a shift and change. Even if it's you're drinking less, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the idea, is to just get super mindful about, and we talk about this, this buzzword, mindful. If I'm mindful, I won't eat as much, and I'm mindful, I won't, I mean, we're jamming stuff in our faces all the time, whether it be our phones, or our food, or drink. And so you just know that that's sort of what we're doing, and we're just increasing that awareness around it. But one of the biggest things is, for me, and the big understanding is, if I became a regular evening drinker, and you do that over an extended period of time, your body begins to expect it. So it knows it's a carcinogen, and if it's learned behavior, and it's learned chemical behavior. And so if the body is expecting you to come home every night at 6 o'clock and pour that glass of wine, it's already producing the adrenaline and the cortisol before you even have decided that you're doing it.
Wow.
And so you're building
So that pattern in the endocrine system is a part of the next trigger.
Correct.
Thus the word addiction.
Right. That's correct.
That's really compelling.
But it's just the body protecting itself.
Of course.
It knows it's coming, and it doesn't want
Because we are a smart organism.
Right. Yeah.
So we're smart enough to know that we need to protect ourselves against it because it is a harmful substance.
Correct.
One of the things I really loved about Annie Grace's work is that she calls alcohol a poison, like flat out. And when you drink the poison, and so that became a part of my vernacular too, in my own mind. I don't say it to other people. It's none of their business. It's my business. It's something I'm writing on. So I would be like, oh, I'm gonna pour some poison. Did I really want to drink that poison? I'm not sure. This is delicious poison. So that at least, in my increased awareness, if we don't coach ourselves, we never get there. So even when Pam, when you're coaching people, I can coach you, I can help you, but the people that make the best progress are the people that pick up the baton when the session's over and start to investigate, how can I be my own coach?
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that helped me coach me. The other thing that helped me coach me is that one of my fears about drinking was my brain health. And so then I was very motivated. I'd be like, Tracy, but remember how important your brain health is. Think about being blah, blah, blah. And I could spin out this fantasy of my infuriating brain and what that would leave for me in my life and how soon that would cut off my awareness and my function. So tell us about brain chemistry and alcohol.
Oh, well, it's simple and it's complicated. But I think the most important piece that I'd love to bring it for my newest understanding is its connection to the sleep, right? And so sleep is essential for our brain health and for our brain to be able to do its job of flushing. So there's that new science now that there's that literally a flushing that happens.
A chemical flush.
Yeah, and so if we are interrupting that healthy flush on a repetitive basis, that alone is going to wreak havoc on the health of your brain.
And passing out isn't the same as sleeping. Alcohol-induced sleep is not the same. I had this app called, I don't know, it was a sleep app. And you would put the phone under your mattress or in your bed, and it would graph your sleep. And so I know, like I will tell you very transparently that I would watch that graph. And my non-alcohol sleeps had a healthy rhythm of sleep. And my alcohol sleeps, and it wasn't drink to pass out, it was just have a glass and a half before bedtime. That alcohol sleep with the alcohol was a very unhealthy sleep pattern.
Right.
And so there it was right on the screen. It was really hard to argue with.
It reduces your neural activity, period. Story.
Yeah.
You can't think clearly. And so if you're doing that on a repetitive basis, the piece that I worked with for a while for me was I was basically dumbing myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And people will associate that with pot smokers, right? Like, oh, people who smoke pot every night, they're kind of spacey and they're not. Well, guess what?
Mentally dull, but yeah.
Alcohol does the same too.
And
mentally
they're like mood, and that puts you in a mood. I mean, it's when you are like fringe hungover, when you're not feeling vital and alive and bright-eyed in the morning, you've got a low-grade, tired irritability.
Yeah.
You know, you speak different, you respond different, you decide different, your workload, what you accomplish in the day. So there are a lot of subtleties, science, non-science, experiential. But I think the experiential piece is what's really we want to kind of wrap with this idea that there are, life is an experience. This is an experience. This is a process. And curiosity and compassion, this might be your time. 2022 might be your time to get curious, to get compassionate, to start to be more aware of your process. And we'd like to just support you with that.
Absolutely.
That's the case for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are we supporting people?
Yeah. And what I would encourage people to do is to get curious, just like we've been talking about, and start to pay attention of your habits. Why are you drinking, what you think it's doing for you, and you can begin to examine those if you want, or just simply paying attention to, the effects that you're getting in your body before, during, and after, and recognize those. And then once you get to a space, if you get to a space where you're like, I want to try to do it differently, then I would encourage somebody, to take a 30-day break. But a lot of times, it's the new year and it's dry January or dry October or dry July, and we force ourselves in this compartment of I'm not going to drink for the last 30 days, and it's willpower only, and it's all about the lack and it's not about the gains. And so to combine those two together, so being like super curious and just being aware of, maybe it's not doing what I think it's doing for myself. And actually, maybe I'm actually starting to feel the effects of learning about this science now. And then you're like, okay. And now I'm prepared, I'm ready. I'm curious about how I'm going to feel when I take a break, because
and I feel like
I learn about the gains.
Yeah. And it's like I'm talking about like our energetic patterning and who we are.
Yeah.
And so you can take your energetic patterning like a piece of clay and you can hit it with a hammer and make a change.
Yeah.
Dry January, bam, okay, I didn't drink for 30 days, right? Or you can be an artist with your life and you can take the clay and dip your hands in some water and mold it and shape it. And then you're taking, a January opportunity to develop awareness and compassion and to grow as a person and to shape things differently as they relate to you under your own sovereign choice, not because there's a judgment, not because there are rules, not because there are some sort of facts, but because you are noticing what is going on with your experience and you're making that call for yourself.
Absolutely. And we could spend an hour listing all the benefits, clearer skin, better sleep, again, and it's gonna take at least a week before you get to that space, depending on how long you've been drinking. For me, it took me almost 2 weeks to get to a full night's sleep without, kind of feeling, just allowing all the chemicals to leave my body, and better skin, happier, and I know they say it's crazy, the same thing with meditation, but better sex, not kidding. The benefits, your
liver
lungs,
repair.
your heart, your liver.
Yeah.
So all the internal organs, your brain, you start
Your
drinking
adrenals.
clearing,
Yeah.
adrenals, and your energy in
Immune
general.
system is better.
Immune system.
100% your immune system is better.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so there's all the things,
Mm-hmm.
but in all honesty, I think there's just a sense of peace. This a sense of inner peace, like I don't need something outside of myself to feel connected to another person, to solve my problems, to avoid my problems.
Oh, we got all the way to this point and we didn't say that word.
Peace.
Shame.
Oh,
Like it was so healing for like my shame
yeah,
that I didn't have to like carry that burden of I wasn't able to not, I'm just like, these are this person's in my family, like all of that shame around it. So anyway, we covered a lot.
we did.
We covered a lot. So on Pamela's website, she has a link to Annie Grace's program, this Naked Minds program, for their January experiment. And if this is interesting to you, you are welcome. Rattle off your website, so it's here.
It's truebluesoul.com. So it's truebluesoul, 3 words.com. And then there's a link with a coaching events link. So under the coaching events link is where there's a direct link to this specific January 30-day break from alcohol, if that's something you want to, or even just to do when you want to start in 30 days, or if you just want to have the program while you are examining and getting curious. So you're learning the science, because each day you get a different email and there's a group. And I will say it's extraordinarily powerful to be amongst like-minded people. I know that's one of the reasons why we love coming to the yoga studio, right? And hanging and rubbing elbows with people who are thinking and feeling the same way. And so this group is much the same. One of the most supportive aspects of it for me, because I thought for sure I was going to be the only yoga instructor who wanted to drink less often or not at all, and here it was not the case at all. You're going to find other moms, other professional people, people from all walks of life.
And it's a large scale forum.
Yeah,
it's not like going to your neighborhood meeting.
Yeah,
you're not going to see the people you see at the grocery store.
No,
so
not.
there's
and
I'm not
the
talking
world.
about like back to that shame, but just I think we appreciate a little bit of anonymity. Like it's personal. This was like a personal thing that I wanted to do for me. It wasn't, I've said it like how many times, it's nobody else's business.
Right.
So it became my intimate journey with myself and what was important to me. So yeah, and that could be the case.
And that's so interesting for me. I needed the affirmation that I wasn't alone, because I thought for sure I was the only one who was trying to do this and couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well,
So,
support with other people, but you still have your privacy.
Yeah,
when you
just like listen,
yeah.
just like reading their stories and like people talking about when they started drinking or why they think we're drinking, blah blah, and I'd be like, it's like she sounds like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was really cool. I
That's
needed
really
that.
cool.
I needed that for me.
Yeah.
It was just helpful for me. And this Naked Mind has so many different programs, and this is probably a good place to start. So if you follow that link, then you'll go directly to that specific program.
Yeah,
it's in January, and
yeah. And if you want to just talk to Pam about
absolutely.
Beautiful jewelry. Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful earrings, beautiful necklaces, beautiful. You sell them at
my truebluesoul.com website.
And do you still sell them?
I do sell. I still at Don Drum.
Yeah.
Don Drum here locally in Akron.
Yeah. What else? Yoga classes at Roots Yoga in Wadsworth.
Yes.
Any more at Yoga Bliss?
No.
No? Okay, so just at Roots. What else? Do we hit it all?
I think so.
And you can reach out directly to Pam with questions.
Absolutely.
And you know, you could always talk to me.
Or you.
Yeah, like, and I'll send you to Pam for the real stuff, but like, you know, chatting about it, just like having a person. And I feel like these days, two things that yoga studios can offer that your online platforms for $19.99 a month can't offer. One is connection with people, and the other is sanctuary.
Yeah.
So come in, talk to us, step out of your pattern that you're in, your environment that holds you in that pattern, and start interacting with people that might be aligned in, you know, a different stream that you're curious about. And yeah, and you know, sovereignty.
Thank you.
Well, I think we have a lot more to chat about between the two of us. But for today, this topic, I hope that sets you up for 2022 and that you feel really good about it. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, do all of those things to support us. It's all free and it's all fun and it's all really interesting. Wasn't this interesting? Namaste. Thank you, Pamela. Namaste.